And may I say good evening to everyone, and welcome to the Township of Douro-Dummer's meeting here on the 21st of December, 2021, our last meeting before Christmas, and we'll have lots of opportunity, of course, to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas here as we get through a very unusual time right across the world, of course. So I'm going to call the roll first of all, so we know who is in attendance. Deputy Mayor Moher.
Here.
Councillor Watt.
Present.
Oh, you're freezing up there, Tom. You're frozen. Might have to put a sweater on. Councillor Landsman.
Present.
And Councillor Watson.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. So, with everyone here, I will officially proclaim the meeting to order at 5:02. We're going to be as efficient as we can. Also joining us, of course, is our CAO, Alana Arthurs. Alana, a wave from you. Martina Jade Hartwick, our clerk. Martina, thank you. I understand our Chief Building Official, Brian Fawcett, is on the line there somewhere, and also our Treasurer, Paul Creamer. And who else do we see? We see Mike, our Assistant Manager of Rec Facilities. Mike, good to see you. And Jake Condon, our Manager of Public Works. Chuck Pedersen, our Fire Chief. So we've got pretty much the whole family in attendance. So welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. And we respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Could we all have a moment of silent reflection, please? Okay, thank you all very much. Some housekeeping here to adopt some minutes, 6.1 through 6.4, special meetings of council. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt all of those minutes? Mr. Moher, seconded by Sheila. All in favor? That motion is approved. Business arising out of the previous minutes. Martina?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we've just missed item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the
foolish.
adoption of the agenda.
Well, it wouldn't be the same if I didn't miss one thing, so it's okay. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, anybody? Seeing no hands. And we've got to adopt the agenda that's before us today. Councillor Watt and Councillor Watson, all in favor. That motion is approved. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, Martina, when you interrupted me, did we adopt the minutes?
I had a mover, a seconder, and it has been carried, so we're now at business arising.
Okay, good. Thank you. Business arising? Seeing no hands. No, we have no delegations or petitions. We should have a very quick meeting tonight, I hope, as we get into the holidays. We're going to move to other business and staff reports. And Brian, are you with us there? This is the updated building bylaw. Maybe you want to give us a run through on this, please.
For sure. Thank you very much, Your Worship. And through you. So the governance of the building department is regulated by the Building Code Act. And under that act, the municipality is permitted to pass a bylaw. And there's a variety of things that we're allowed to include in our bylaw. And so we've had a bylaw, and in order to have the building part, we have to have the bylaw. It's basically our overseeing bylaws to what the fees are and how fees are collected and the different types of permits we're allowed to issue and all of those sorts of very boring administrative things that we go through. So the bylaw that we're before you today is basically a refresh of the bylaw, because the old bylaw we have is from 2007. And there's been a number of code cycle changes, and obviously the bylaw no longer reflects accurately what we do on a day-to-day, just in terms of some of the steps, and especially with COVID and e-permitting and things like that. So the new bylaw is very much in line with other local municipalities' bylaws and best practices put out by the OBOA, AMO, and AMCTO. And really the extent of our bylaw hasn't changed anything. We're not changing the fees with this bylaw right now, which is why there was no public notice. The bylaw is just a administrative tool that we're using to update moving forward, and then it will allow us to have the policies and steps in place that we need to continue to move forward.
Okay, Alana, you're fully briefed on that?
Yes, Your Worship, I am.
Good, thank you. Questions, comments? Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just a quick question. So I did take an opportunity to read through the bylaw, and what's before us this evening. There's nothing that in our bylaw, let me rephrase that. Our bylaw doesn't supersede any provincial regulations. Is that correct? Like what we're putting in place, there are no changes there that would, override, say, something that's in the OBC?
Yeah, no, that's correct. We're not permitted to pass a bylaw that overrides the building code. Basically, as the building department is a municipal function, but we enforce provincial legislation. So it's kind of a quasi-provincial municipal type of process. So the bylaw is really just to reflect more or less the process that people go through to apply for a building permit, and that's really all it can reflect, is just sort of what the expectations are of the permit applicant, what they have to do, the forms which are already prescribed by the ministry. We're not allowed to change that stuff, so it's really just clearing that all up. There's a few things like alternative solutions that are permitted by the building code if we decide to permit them. So this bylaw and the previous bylaw allow for those types of things to happen. We also allow for fees to be established based on the classes of permits, which we've been doing already. This is just the same language again. And then also allows for refunds and clarifies the process when somebody's eligible for a refund and when they're not. And really that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it. But everything else is really just straight out of the code, exactly what we're required to do and nothing more.
Okay. Carl, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you to you, Mr. Chair, to Brian for all the detail. And I read the whole thing as well, and I think it provides excellent detail for the applicant to know what's expected of he or she when they're applying for a building permit. However, I notice in the bylaw there's no reference to what the client could expect of us, and I think that's where in the last couple of years I've had a number of phone calls about either an email or a telephone not being replied to. And most customers are not interested in, that is approved or not. They just want an acknowledgement that it was received and kind of a timeline as to when they could expect a review of it. And I'd like, I don't know whether the other council members think of this or not, but I'd like to have that in there and possibly delay the bylaw to our next meeting so that there could be some timelines that could be incorporated into the bylaw so that the applicants that are applying that have a good idea of what they could expect, whether it be a week turnaround or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, a quick note to them after the application has been received. I'm just wondering if that could be incorporated into the bylaw, and then it's there and then everyone knows about it, and that'll save the phone ringing to my place.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, through your worship. So the bylaw that's before you is an outline of Section 7 of the Act. It's very specific what we're allowed to include in the bylaw and what we're not allowed to include in the bylaw. So the sort of what you're discussing is more like a customer service standard policy, and that sort of those types of timelines and expectations and things like that are very important to have, certainly. And I can definitely agree that over the course of especially the last year, the volume that we've received is incredible. And that's part of that is certainly the reason why under the budget we're seeking to have a full-time admin added to the department. So with that, we're certainly looking to have those expectations return to normal. Under the Building Code Act, the act enables the regulation, and under the regulation, we're already prescribed to the expectations of what our response times are. So we have 10 business days to respond to an application to either issue or deny the permit. And other than that, that's really the only, and that's for just a general house type permit. There's other classes of permits that have different timelines and things like that. But without getting into too much detail, that's already prescribed by the building code, and we can't change that. We're not allowed to make it faster. We're not allowed to make it slower. Certainly we can try to achieve a higher customer service standard, which is, I think, definitely an objective for all departments across all municipalities. But there's nothing in this bylaw that we would be allowed to add that would be able to change that. So I think to answer or to provide some reassurance to your point, we'd like to see that certainly in the coming months, once we have the admin position supported and in place, that I'll have some ability to create better service policies for my department, which will certainly hopefully alleviate a lot of those issues. And then if there's still a concern moving forward, then I'm more than happy to readdress that, and we can bring a more comprehensive customer service policy before council.
Carl?
I just want to clarify, the calls that I've been involved with haven't been a request of approval or denial. It's just the fact that they don't know what's going on, and that's where causes some concern. So perhaps a resolution separate from this bylaw would be appropriate to advance the service levels that I think our clients expect in this day and age.
So Carl, perhaps we could turn that to staff, to Alana, to investigate and come up with a
Yes.
policy that addresses those concerns. Is that good?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I think Alana's got her hand up.
Alana, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say that, outside of even the building department, I think it'd be beneficial for us to have a policy for the township entirely for each department. So going back and taking a look at our customer service levels and what the expectation is for response times across the board, I think would be something that would be valuable for the entire township. So we'll investigate that. We'll add it to our outstanding, our report and capital status list, and we'll bring that back in the new year.
Excellent.
Okay, I'll move that then. We look at that in the coming months. And
So you'll move to receive the report and instruct staff to investigate a policy.
service
right?
level review.
Okay, that's good. Sheila, you'll second it?
Yes, I will
ahead.
second it, and I just would like to make a comment through you to Alana. Is that, Alana, possibly something that should be included in the customer service and the staff policy? Or is that getting too far out of it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Landsman, are you referring to our HR policies?
Yeah.
Is that
The
yeah,
little
I
one.
think- I think our HR policies, for what they are, we'll leave those as is. I don't know if it would be specific. It's going to be more corporate wide, I think, specific to customer service. So we can take another look. I know there is some stuff in there with accessibility and whatnot. So
Mhm.
I don't want to duplicate anything. So I'll have a look at what we have in place and find the best spot for it and bring it back to council.
Okay, thank you.
That one's large enough. We may not want to add to it.
True.
Okay, Carl, there's a motion on the floor. Sheila is the seconder to receive the report and to instruct staff on a policy. All in favor? That motion is approved. Item 9.2, and it's time for Paul Creamer to be on the screen, and I'm sure he's got a brand new pair of shoes on. This is about the budget for 2022. And just a quick review, we've had a number of meetings on this. Council have had plenty of opportunities to get their thoughts to Paul and to Alana and all the staff members. So it's been a very efficient way of doing the budget, and I do pat Paul on the back for that. We had our mandatory public meeting on the 7th of December, of course. That meeting was fully advertised. Peterborough this week, the Lakefield Herald, all of our social media. We have indeed had the public meeting. And it's that time in the process for us to theoretically, I hope, approve the budget and get on with life. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and we'll see how we go from here. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. You did say a lot of what I was going to say, but I think the one thing, the report's pretty straightforward in terms of the content. I didn't want to rehash too many things of what had already been discussed at previous meetings and previous reports. What we are looking for is to approve the budget as has been discussed. The one change that has been made since the last draft, as per the council resolution, was to reduce the library increase to, I can't remember the exact amount, but essentially it was half of what was in at the first draft. That is reflected in these numbers. And after that change, we are now at a 3.81% levy increase. And after assessment growth, 3.61%.
And sorry, Paul, can you give us the figures on per 100,000 of assessment idea?
Yep. So annually per 100,000 of assessment, that's $13.44.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions? It's been a fairly long road, but a very efficient one to get to this point. Any comments from members of council? Carl?
I echo this budget process has been very smooth. So thank you very much to all senior staff and Paul and Ilana for advancing this, because much easier than other years. And I think this is the first year we spent a fair amount of time on the operational side of the house versus just the capital in the past. Thank you very much for leading the way, folks.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Now, Paul, you will have a bylaw, Martina, right? A bylaw to approve it? Is that what happens, or does that come to the next meeting?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in Paul's report, he's crafted a resolution that will allow council to approve the information he's provided. And then it directs staff to bring forward a bylaw for approval in the new year. We are currently waiting on the new assessment rule to be able to provide that approval bylaw.
Gotcha.
So this is a stopgap so that we can put these numbers, make them permanent, and move forward and allow some spending to occur, and then bring forward the actual bylaw once it's available.
So, a motion then to approve Paul's presentation and move forward to the bylaw. That would be the motion. Who would like to make that? Sheila, thank you. Seconder. Carl. Nobody else wants a seconded there. Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor. That motion is approved. Paul, again, on behalf of all of us, thank you for a very efficient process. Everything above board, and I just love the way you did it. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us. Okay, 9.3, Township IT Services. Alana, do you want to brief us on this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that CAO 2021-51 report dated December 21st, 2021 regarding Township IT Services be received for information. Just a little bit of background. We have been looking at enhancing our IT services. There's lots of things since I've come aboard, especially with COVID, where we have found some gaps and we need some some better IT measures, and that's nothing to take away from microwage. I think it's just, we've been looking at lots of things. So We were discussing with the county about potentially looking at IT services with them as well, and then some discussions with neighboring municipalities. Ultimately, we want to find the best IT services and the lowest cost possible. So just in this report, I just wanted to bring it to council so council was aware that we were investigating it and just trying to seek out the best option at this point.
Okay, clear. Any comments? It's a work in progress. Carl?
Yes, thank you, Alana, for giving us a quick update that you're still working on it. And I think part of our review, I guess our review, it almost goes back 2 years now, was one of the things was to develop an IT strategy for integrating and enabling systems at various township and county levels, because right now a lot of software packages that we use, we pay annual licensing both at our township and sometimes every other township in the county. And I think one of the things that Tammy mentioned during the review is consideration should be looked at to get one big license, one big contract. It'd be a lot cheaper than annual renewals and upgrades, because a lot of these annual upgrades are cash for life for some of these software companies. And I think that's something needs to be looked at. Certainly the townships that have gone with the county, most of the feedback from my level to the county, they've been very, very pleased with a lot of things that have gone on. And there's been more consistent policies relative to what software was used, because in some cases we do use the same software in the county and the townships and so on, but other townships use other software, and it just seems to be all over the place. And one of the things in the past was that we didn't want to go with a larger group, was that we didn't have high-speed internet at our township office. Well, with the fiber in there now, we could basically run a TV station, I think, out of the township office. So there should be lots of bandwidth. So I would not be in favor of going the route of 2 other townships. I think, with all due respect, I think we're probably further in advance than probably both those townships, and they would probably gain the most by being associated with us. But I guess we got to look at it. One other thing that's coming down the road is it come out of the service review team that I'm sits on the county, is that some of these days we may have 311 reporting. And today we take complaints for probably our own township, the county, the school board, the neighboring townships. And if we ever introduce a 311 system, that should save one heck of a lot of administration of referring complaints on to other municipalities or other organizations, because if there's a call center that answers the 311, they should be able to refer it to the municipality or the school board or whatever immediately, rather than taking it, trying to find out where they are, who provides the service, and go on. Because most people in the field don't understand the difference between a county road and a township road. All they know is the road is a problem with it. So I think that's another reason why we should consistently look at a bigger operation for IT, and hopefully we can get some kind of an IT governance model that will be satisfactory and allow us to move forward. That's basically my comments on it.
Okay, note to staff. Alana, any comments on Carl's comments?
For you, Mr. Mayor. No, I appreciate the Deputy Mayor's comments. I definitely will take note in the subscription costs and that sort of thing, because that's a valuable thing to consider as we move forward. So we will look into all options and we'll bring something back to council.
Good.
Yes.
Any other comments before I ask for a motion to receive that report? Okay, motion to receive the report. Heather and Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. Thank you for that, Alana. Committee minutes, other reports. We have a report on capital projects, the status of them. This is a relatively new, updated report that we can all be aware of. Any comments on it? Motion to receive it then, please. Sheila, Carl, all in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, we move ahead to bylaws. We will ask Martina, please, to review the bylaws, and I will ask for a motion to approve them. Go ahead, Martina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first bylaw that is before you is Bylaw 2021-73. This is our new and improved procedural bylaw. I have made one small amendment to this bylaw. In the meeting location section, it spoke to only allowing meetings to take place within the township. I've just expanded that wording to allow for meetings to take place in alternate locations with council's approval. So the example that kind of prompted this slight change is when the township had a council meeting at Lang Pioneer Village in our old hall that's now at Lang. So we wanted to be able to have those type of special ceremonies and special events take place. So I've just amended the wording, but everything else is as you find it on your agenda.
Thank you.
And did you want me to review all of
Yeah,
them?
you might as well do them all. We'll have
Okay.
one motion for the bylaws.
Very good. The next bylaw that's before you is 2021-74, and that is Brian's building bylaw that we've already discussed. And then 2021-75 is the amending site plan agreement for Wildfire Golf Course. Council will remember that we've had public meetings about this. They did a zoning bylaw amendment for this project, and they had also entered into pre-construction agreements with the township earlier in the year. And then the final bylaw we have is 2021-76. And this is our user fees and charges bylaw. At our budget meeting on December 7th, we introduced the new fees and charges schedules. This is the bylaw to enact those schedules that were previously before council.
Okay, thank you, Martina. A motion, please, to approve the bylaws. Heather and Tom? Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is approved. Thank you. We have no action item correspondence. We have a couple of information items. The third quarter garbage report and a notice of adoption of the official plan for the city of Peterborough. Any notices of motion? Any community announcements? Go ahead, Sheila.
Should we just receive those two items in item 13? If
We can receive them if you'd like to. Sure. You want to make that motion?
Sure, thank you.
Seconder? Carl, all in favor? Okay, no closed session. Confirming bylaw would be appropriate. Tom? And Heather, all in favor? And certainly, last but not least, it's time to say Merry Christmas to everyone. And we've had quite a year right across the entire world, of course, and we're still in the middle of it. And on behalf of everybody here at Douro-Dummer, we want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. And everyone, please stay safe. And we will be back in the first Tuesday in January. So everybody, have a very, very Merry Christmas. A motion to adjourn.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Heather and Carl, all in favor.